I always go by this thought process, and anybody in the coffee industry will tell you this. If you like your cup of coffee, nobody can tell you it's bad, right? We don't really have the right. You like it, it's a good cup, right? But in judgments, when you judge a certain competition, there are beverages being served to you, and you actually have to tell which one is better. So the difficult part is keeping your personal preferences out, because there's certain kind of coffee I like which not everybody prefers. So if that comes to the table, not necessary that's what should go forward. Like you're looking for the balanced cup, or you're looking for the right kind of brew.
We are in conversation with Sangya today. She's been my trainer for the Crop to Cup at SCAI in Bangalore, and she's also been a judge at the Indian Aeropress Championship Bengaluru Chapter just a few days ago. We'll take it over with you. Please tell us a little about yourself.
So I've just joined the coffee professionally, I think a year and a half ago. Before that, I was in the corporate world. I was doing things based on education, practical decisions, and it wasn't fun anymore. So I just thought, coffee being my passion, this is one of the things I can now take up full time. I have the time and the luxury to do this. So yeah, I kind of started off with just brewing at home. That was about 7 years. So I've been having coffee for a couple of decades. Good coffee for only 5 to 7 years now. And yeah, I've been doing home brewing, barista and all of that. So I thought might as well take it a step forward. Started with certifications, started taking that more seriously, became an AST. And yeah, now at SCAI I conduct trainings. I'm one of the lead trainers here. So Has being the founder, I know him through some connections. So yeah, we got started with this.
Yes, they run a very tight team with everything to do with training and certifications, and they're really strict in giving out the certifications. Right? So yeah, it's been a fun experience since I came here. I think other than some experience in home brewing, which I tried back then, from chutney to French press to basics, the general way to go. And then I said, no, I need to study a little bit about this because it is now intriguing me a little bit more. I think when I signed up over here, I did not know who Suhas is. I did not know who Benki's is. I did not even know too much about SCAI. I went online, I looked for a course, I found this course, I spoke to you. I think you're the only person that I could speak to at that time. We spoke a couple of times and I signed up and that was it, right? And then I was like, मैंने पैसे तो सही जगह भेजे है ना, if you know, there was all these thoughts, right? And then when I come here and I'm like, oh, this is where we are, right? So yes, and the group that was there with me was very fun as well.
Yes.
To learn from, to learn with. I think all of us have moved up a ladder from where we were. Correct. With just something as simple as the crop to cup. It wasn't very complicated. It was sort of a brief of everything.
Not too much in depth of anything. We've just touched the entire supply chain.
Correct.
But very informative.
Very informative. And then from there we were able to all find ways of our own. Someone started just cold brew. Someone started brewing better at their bakery and things like that, right? Now what's that? When I think about it, from where we started and where I finished my course with you, I kept thinking of which part of the supply chain I want to be a part of. Right. What should I do? You knew that I was not interested with milk a lot. That was just there, right?
That is very clear.
Espresso machine नहीं मेरे को नहीं सीखने हैं. सबको आता है मेरे को नहीं करने हैं. There's a lot of things that way. But from there then when I went back home, I tried to identify the place. I was able to see everything is missing. Luckily though, from there, like let's say we did it in Feb for example, there were already things under construction which I didn't know of.
Okay.
Only when I started speaking about Zenagi, people started connecting the dots because it's a very small community there. Like generally you know everything about everyone. And then I was put in touch with Venue 1, Cafe 2, Venue 3, co-working space with specialty cafe. And then these things kind of, yes it did. So there are 2 or 3 cafes who are doing only specialty espressos.
Okay.
There's one cafe that's doing an all-out range with the slow bar.
Okay.
There are more such coming up, and I started then working with one, not as a consultant, as in which coffee is better, but how to go about it, how to get the equipment, how to set up the bar a little bit so that it's easier for the workflow. Obviously, I studied a little more towards that direction to help them also. Just taking that time off their table of learning, and I took it on me. And then I started putting this across. So we are now working with a co-working space and a specialty cafe. And we are working with another space which is just a slow bar.
Oh, nice. Sounds all so exciting.
It keeps me up at night.
Okay.
I'm working harder than I used to. So yeah, the digital marketing is working where it is, but this is much more adventurous for
Yeah,
me.
definitely.
Let's come back to you. Tell me, how was it after you got the certifications and you've done these trainings for so many bunch of people?
Yeah.
You must be seeing all of their journeys, how they're interconnected. Some kind of just go back to home brewing. Some people venture out. Some people
Yeah.
participate in the championships.
Right, yeah.
Some people may even win the championship, for example, right?
Yeah.
But they take a career path from here.
Yeah.
So, what is that feeling like? How have people gone about it? What are the kind of case studies that you know of?
Okay. We get different kind of people. When I say kind, like different walks of life in terms of coffee. There are people who are already doing it professionally, people who are just doing it at home, or people who just want to understand what coffee is. Having that entire bunch together, it's always exciting because people come with different thought processes. A lot of things I get to learn from them based on what their experiences have been. Some things we need to tell them that you need to unlearn, which is a really difficult thing to do. But yeah, because coffee, though known as a beverage, not everybody understands what specialty coffee is, what is good coffee, right? But seeing them come for this kind of training, being open to understanding or learning from somebody else, and then taking it forward, whether it's just at home. So I do keep getting messages, or I tried this coffee today, and this is how it turned out. What can I do? So knowing that they are still, trying to stay invested in coffee, it feels nice. It's very gratifying, whether it's personally or even if they're taking it professionally. Like recently, one guy who had come down for Crop to Cup, and he's just started to launch his cold brew. He sent me pics, like the response was really good. I went on, I felt happy. Okay, I've been a part of this. I've been able to contribute to somebody's passion and dream.
True.
It's very gratifying to see all of this happening, whether it's in a professional line or if they're even doing it personally.
Right.
I really love all of this feedback.
Feedback, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
it feels like, okay, I've done something. I'm
Correct.
giving out to the community.
Correct.
So it feels good.
Let's go a little bit forward with regards to you being the judge at Bangalore. How was that like? How did that kind of I know it. Everything when you do it for the first time, it kind of change your dimension of thinking.
Yeah.
When you know what a judge does per se, you've competed, you know what it is,
Correct.
right? But then when you're there in the judge's seat, there are different set of thoughts, different set of processes that you have to follow.
Right.
There are directives that you have as well.
Oh, yeah.
Ki no, if it's 1 point here, it's one.
It's one.
If it's 1 point here, it's done.
Correct.
So I'm not asking for rules per se, but how was it?
So it was a very different experience in terms, because I always go by this thought process, and anybody in the coffee industry will tell you this. If you like your cup of coffee, nobody can tell you it's bad, right? We don't really have the right. You like it, it's a good cup, right? But in judgments, when you judge a certain competition, there are beverages being served to you, and you actually have to tell which one is better. So the difficult part is keeping your personal preferences out, because there's certain kind of coffee I like which not everybody prefers. So if that comes to the table, not necessarily that's what should go forward. Like you're looking for the balanced cup, or you're looking for the right kind of brew. So it's exciting, it's challenging to make sure that you're doing justice to the entire set that's come to you. The funny thing, I never really thought about that when I'm judging, what am I supposed to do with the coffee? Like usually my thought to coffee is, if I'm drinking it, I am drinking it, right? The rest of the judges, they're more experienced than me, they've been in the industry longer, and they all ask for spit cups, and I'm looking at it, okay, do I need to do that? I'm like, okay, we'll see how it goes. By the end of the day, I didn't spit any coffee. Thankfully, I had no jitters or caffeine crash, but it was really exciting seeing the enthusiasm with people, especially when we were announcing who's winning and the way they would come out, enthusiastically. It was really nice to see. So I had to keep my personal bias aside. I had to keep the fact that any cup of coffee you like is good. All of that aside, yeah, judgment a little difficult, but it's exciting to see the entire crowd turn up, the way people interact, right? The community talking, that I think is the best part of all of this.
Can we count on you to tell us who are the 3 judges for the indoor Indian aeropress championship?
No.
Okay, good call. Now, when we speak about the championship, just a little bit more before we move on to the rest of the bits. With the championship, I understand that some people design their water themselves. Some people use the current sponsor, which is the Magic Potion, which is also pretty beautiful. And some people use regular water. It depends on what their kind of flow is with it, right? Keeping this aside, are we also looking for ingenuity? Is there a particular way that it makes more sense? Like an inverted aeropress is better than a regular one process, or is there something else that is brought to the table? Is something like that okay, or is it very restricted that way?
I think it's very open. You have a lot of place to experiment. Like it doesn't matter how you're doing it. As long as the final cup comes and is good, it doesn't really matter.
I'll change my question a little bit. Actually, what I meant to say was, because we have Magic Potion and we have other options of water and we have the regular water, are we finding that anybody in the competition is kind of restricting themselves to think in a particular way? Inverted only is right, magic potion. It's not like that, right? It's not.
It shouldn't be that way.
Right.
But yeah, I do see a couple of participants really focusing on this particular water.
I need to get this coffee right with this particular water at this temperature. I can't go beyond this temperature, and I can't go beyond this time.
Some people are restricting it. Like when we were having conversations and people came up and they said that I thought the so and so water was so much better. I understand that school of thought. There is a science behind it, which kind of water will help.
No, define the science. I'm with it, but with the process, with the art.
Yeah, I think it kind of does start hampering the process. I mean, I know it has a negative connotation when I say hampering, but it does kind of start influencing you that I have been given this, maybe this is better, so kind of start going towards that side rather than having a free room to experiment. That does happen, but I think pros and cons.
Yes, so again, just to give statutory warnings, we are not saying anything is right or wrong. What we are saying is experiment about it, look at it and move forward with it. I do have a feeling, I don't know what the scoring structure looks like, for example, but I do have a feeling that if there is someone who's creative, who you can see is doing something differently and doing it right also. It's not like I used water at 40 degrees because I want to drink at 40. It's not like that. But instead of an inverted, if someone's using a pump method, trying to brew 500 ml for example, separating it, adding some water, it could be anything, right? It's the world is your playground. To whatever that gives you a decent cup. Is that also given some credit, or is it just the cup and how it tastes? No, not bothered about how they're preparing it.
It's actually just the cup, because when it comes to the judges table, we don't really know who's brewed what. It's a blind tasting, and that helps because you're not influencing. People will not feel that we're being biased to somebody, right?
Makes sense.
So no matter what technique you've tried, it should show up in the taste of the cup, because we don't know anything else about it. We don't know how you do it. So,
right. That makes sense. So then we need to go back to the championship, see who won, and then go back and see. We'll not do that though. From here, where are you looking yourself in the future? Where are you thinking of going?
So coffee is one of the things I'm doing now. Like I said, I'm now focusing my life more towards on what I'm passionate about rather than what I got educated with. So coffee is one of the things. Apart from that, there are certain other passions that I have. So I'm pursuing that as well. Different ventures that I've floated.
Tell us about it. What's the harm? We're not going to jinx it.
Okay.
There's something to do with design, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I opened a design studio a couple of months back. So the thought process actually came from the fact that we have a lot of talent in India in terms of art, in terms of heritage, right? So there are weavers that we have in the country who sit down, who actually put in the pain to do the hand weaving, hand spinning. But the products, just because it's made in India or because it doesn't have that market, it's not really getting that exposure. And the weavers are not getting their share. And I think that same thing resonates even with the coffee planters. They don't really get the share of the labor that they do. So the thought process behind my studio is I do my designs, but I reach out to these artisans and we make sure that the products we're making. So for now it's just saris. We will expand. I will expand. So all of that is going.
Wish you the best for it, actually.
Thank you so much. The point is, it's not just about me earning money. For me, it's my passion on the art, and it should showcase the culture. It should showcase the kind of, natural and very simplified way of the way they're doing it, right? The art that they have. It's not, for them, it's not just about the money.
But it's patience, it's sincerity,
yes,
it's art, it's craft, it's all put together, right?
Yeah.
It's a heritage.
And it was really sad with all of this art, and COVID really hit them badly. I think most of these sectors which are all about art and creativity, where it's not called as like very essential, right? You wouldn't really get down to and say this is essential, you still need to keep it running. So they were really impacted. A lot of things I got to know through Instagram because people who put up posts. So the thought process is that they should get back what is their due. The art is dying. Most of the art forms that we have of weaving and everything, it's not really seeing the light of the day. So yeah, the plan is just to help them out, help myself as well, bring the art out. So that's what the design studio does currently. In the coffee space, I'm still doing trainings. I'll continue with that because I love interacting with people, looking at their school of thought. It makes me question what I believe about coffee as well, right? Some things maybe it's just something I've taken for granted, but I will question it because I interact with different people. That's something I'll definitely keep going. I've started with sensory consultations, so I'm doing coffee tasting for roasters, for planters. Hopefully that will pick up in a big way. I'll move into consultation space. I'll move into all of this coffee.
It's a journey, right? It's a journey, and we all have to sail through it slowly.
The more you do, the more you learn.
Correct.
And coffee, you can keep it as simple as you want or as complicated as you want. So I'd love to just dip into all of it and see where it takes me.
True, makes sense. So a little bit now, because it's reflecting the same ethos, I want to talk about what we've thought of with Zenagi.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Zenagi is into training.
Yeah.
It's into trading and it's into consult.
All right.
Training for home brewers, that I can do very well because I am a home brewer.
Yeah.
Training with baristas, which we are still working with. It will take some time to come there.
Okay.
But we see a big deficit of good baristas or even qualified baristas to kind of take up this baton and move forward, spread the word, spread the coffee culture. And I think coffee with conversations is the only way that it makes sense.
True.
Right?
Yes.
So to get the community going, we need to change this as a server or a person who's just behind the counter to a person who's interacting with the people, who knows about the subject that he or she is working with and is brewing the best cup of coffee that he can for the customer, right?
Yes.
So we want to take it there. That's one part. Consulting is, of course, we are not doing consults in the sensory aspects. I personally, we are not doing consults in the aspect of which coffee is better than the other, but we are working with them. We are learning and working with them in terms of how they can set up bars, the cafes that is. How they can do maybe a slow bar or a fast, something to distinguish them from the rest of the crowd. We're trying to curate a good menu for them that can distinguish them from a different crowd. Indoor being very new, it's difficult for me to go and say, yes, here's a black cup of coffee and it's good because I say so. It doesn't work that way. So we are taking a couple of other routes with different people. We are trying to build mocktails around manual brewed coffee. We are trying to purify it, refresh it a little bit more, but obviously keeping the main floor around coffee and then build from there. And with education, with training, I'm doing these workshops. The idea of the workshops is not to make a buck. Actually, we're doing it for free at the moment. But the idea is to get the word going for people to try it. Just try.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge the coffee industry has in India, at least, people are not aware of how good a beverage this is.
Correct.
Right? You need to spread the word. You need people to at least get them to try.
Correct. And so much fun trying different ones. Just keep trying.
Yeah. You don't have to like it. We're not saying convert and don't ever go back to any other beverage. But at least try it.
Try it. Correct. Yeah. So the workshop revolves around me talking about some basics. Like these are the brewers. These are the kind of coffees. This is the flavor wheel, which I touch upon very lightly without giving them too many cues on what we are serving. I serve a cup of coffee. I ask someone else to come and make one in the same recipe or try the same recipe that I made and then see the difference, and I'm like, it's always going to be different. That's the first key thing. Second is I say, now here's the equipment, brew. You need help, ask me. And then they do their own thing and we just enjoy the time.
That's great. When they get their hands dirty to do this, I think that's when it kind of sparks more of that what is really going on. Let's learn about it.
So the ethos comes from the part of putting the culture first and then maybe see what we can do in terms of making the money per se. But the cafes are right now struggling obviously at 2 points. One is the ingenuity of getting something new to differentiate, and the other is getting the kind of crowd to come in. The kind of crowd that comes in for frappes, that comes in for milky, cold ice cream beverages, things like that. So it's very fun crowd, but also this, we need to kind of grow it. Correct. So the passion that you show towards your weaving is the same passion that is now driving me towards this. It's an empty canvas. There's a lot of parts of the supply chain that are missing in Indore at the moment. So I'm trying to support and put these things up. Obviously, if there are people who come and partner with us, it's better that you take this up. Zenagi doesn't have to be everywhere. Zenagi is not here to...
The point is to just spread the word about coffee.
Correct.
It's a beautiful thought.
You figure out trading. You like equipment. You do equipment part. You take it up.
I think there's enough space. The country has a very huge population. There's enough space, and I think a lot of people who understand or have good business ethics will tell you the same thing. I've heard Suhas say this multiple times. I've heard Sandesh say this multiple times. Right? There's a huge population. Nobody is eating into anybody's market. Let's first get people to try coffee.
We covered this in a previous video also that I was basically set back with how you guys are treating competition, for example, or how you guys, anyone, you talk about traders, you talk about growers, all of them are so encompassing, like, come join us.
It's a community for now.
What you said about Suhas, he wrote on my story that, yes, why don't you grow the pie size, then steal the pie size, like steal the pie, right? So that does make sense, and there's so much left to do. It is the second most traded commodity, and we are not consuming it at that
at
speed.
all. I mean, if you look at where India stands in terms of consumption
tea
of
and coffee is like there, right?
Like, what just happened?
Exactly. But we are catching up. We are doing it right, I think, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
That's the bottom line, right?
And it should always be fun. Otherwise, you kind of tend to lose sight of what you want to do. And
True.
just business is not going to help.
True.
There has to be passion. There has to be fun. Yeah, I agree.
So yes, this is the first of the series that we've kind of started to develop now.
Okay.
Let's see how that goes. I hate to say that I have been into photography and videography before, but now it's just about passing the story ahead, moving the story forward.
Yeah.
We will work on everything else. But the part that you started today, where you spoke about some passion,
Yeah.
that is what I want to then get in front for others as well.
Yeah.
It's not always about coffee, right?
Yeah.
Coffee is for conversations.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And
So-
it's passionate. It is for conversations for a lot of things.
A lot of things,
But
correct.
yeah, I think the right attitude is where this industry needs to adopt and take it forward. A lot of people have
True.
it. Let's not talk about the other side. But
True.
yeah, we do need to focus on the positive. There are people who are having the right attitude and passion towards this. I think we'll grow. I mean, India
Absolutely.
is accepting coffee more and more each day. So yeah, hopefully we'll be there with the other nations one day, being like the top consumers.
Anything you'd like to say to the people in Indore, because they are going to be a part of the championship for the first time?
I would just say have fun, brew the best you think you can. It doesn't really have to be a competition. It can be more about the community. Build connections, talk to each other, trade thoughts. Just have fun. That's
True.
about it.
And on that note, we'll bid adieu. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
we'll
so
catch you
much.
next time. Thank you.
Thank